Good afternoon. I think everybody's here. We'll get started. For those who don't know if there's anyone I didn't meet, I'm Alan Russ. I'm the CEO and General Manager of ATMC. We want to welcome you here today. Some of you are new customers from Columbus County. Been neighbors a long time, but now you're a customer. And we appreciate you, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come today. What I'm going to do is I am going to introduce our board of directors for ATMC because they're your host as well as myself and our staff. I'll start with Mr. Lyle Ray King, who is president of our board of directors, Mr. King, and Mr. Marion Davis, who's vice president of our board of directors. Mr. Gene Ward, who is secretary treasurer. Mr. Elbert Gore, who is a member of the board of directors. Ms. Janice Gore, who is also a member of the board of directors. Mr. Doug Halls, member of the board of directors. Did I miss any directors? I don't want to miss them. They're all my bosses. With that, I think we're going to go ahead the way we're going to do this and have lunch and go ahead and do a buffet lunch. And then after we have a few minutes to eat and fellowship, we'll start it off and have an opportunity for some of the folks we'll introduce and they can tell a little something about themselves. If they're in business, their business, and tell us what it means to have broadband in Columbus County. And we'll let Mr. Adelstein kind of close us out. And he is our honored guest today. His name is Jonathan Adelstein, and I'll tell you a little more about him when I introduce him to speak, but he is the administrator of U.S. Department of Agriculture Rural Utility Services. And I think he manages about a $60 billion portfolio of monies to rural America in the form of mostly loans and some grants to help with infrastructure in electric, telecommunications, and water. I told you just briefly a little bit about Administrator Adelstein. We would very much like, I'll just, you know me, most of you do, I'm just kind of straight to the point. We'd like to impress upon him what the grant money and loan money from RUS has done in Columbus County and the benefits of it. So in doing that, we thought it would be a lot better if some folks that had actually benefited from this got up and told just a little something about how it has benefited them and the difference it's made in their life rather than us telling everybody. So with that, what I'm going to ask you to do is as you come up, and I'll introduce each one, tell who you are, tell a little something about, if you're in business, tell about your business and how this has impacted your business. And if you're not in business, tell how it's impacted your personal life. And we'll start with Mr. Jackson Gore. Mr. Gore, you got to come stand behind the podium.
Okay. Thank you for the invite. Most all of you know I'm Jackson Gore. My wife Janice Gore is here. We manufacture horse trailers. I got to put in a plug for the U.S. Marine Corps. After I got out of the Marine Corps in 1960, we started the company a few years later, building horse trailer, backer trailers, and then went into horse trailer manufacturing. And then along came the internet, and as you all know, we had dial-up up there in Whiteville, North Carolina, out in the country, and dial-up didn't get us very far. It was almost impossible, and finally we got so frustrated we just went with satellite, and then when we went with satellite, that was a lot better, but then we run into the problem of cloudy days or the rainy like we just had, and we might have a client that wanted some pictures sent off to them right away, and it was almost impossible to get them off. And nowadays in time in business, as you all know, you got to be pretty fast to save that sale because you got your competition out there continuous, ready to take it away from you. And so I cannot tell you how happy we was when ATMC announced through what they was trying to do and was going to bring us high-speed internet. So once they got it put in, it's just been, I just can't tell you how great it's been. Since y'all was up there at the last meeting, we got emailed about 2 months ago from a client from the Philippines. And they wanted to see pictures of one model trailer. We shot them off. They liked what they saw. They sent us a deposit. We built them, and we loaded them on a container about 3 weeks ago, headed for the Philippines. And it was continuous back and forth sending pictures to them. They wanted to see them how they was being built. We shot pictures off as they was being built. They picked the colors out. They wanted to see what the colors looked like. And thanks to ATMC and what they have done, life has been a lot easier and everything. But I don't want to take away from here in the U.S. because it's been such a great thing for us too with communicating back and forth. My salesman left this morning to deliver a trailer to a Marine up at Quantico, and he met him at a show, but then he wanted to see what his trailer looked like before we deliver it in case there was anything that he wanted to change on it. And it was an alpaca trailer, so we shot the pictures off after it was completed. Before, it might take us 2 or 3 days if the weather was bad or anything. But we just can't thank enough and for all the help that came from wherever we got all this from. Jonathan there? The grant. Thank you very much, and it has been great. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I give him one more plug. He builds a pretty mean fiber splicing trailer too. I don't know that he can make a living building fiber splicing trailers as good a job as he did for us, but
it was great. It was great to do it for the employees.
He custom built us a fiber splicing trailer, and actually I think that's the second one you built one for us. What year, Steve?
90.
In 1990, he built us a fiber splicing trailer, first one we ever had. I'd like to ask Mr. Jimmy Price if he would come up. I can still remember the letter that Mr. Price wrote when we asked that anybody that thought they would benefit from broadband to send us a letter that we would enclose with our application for the grant. And Mr. Price wrote us a mighty fine letter. And I don't know, maybe you need to bring your wife with you. If not, you certainly need to tell her story too. I saw her shake her head.
I would be in trouble if I told her to come up here right now. So I think I'll decline that invitation. But I do thank you all for the invite today, and Mr. Adelstein, the Rural Utility Service, and Mr. Russ, the board at ATMC, the whole gamut. It's been a complete and utter delight to receive the services from this fine company over in Columbus County. As you know, my wife and I reside in the Crusoe Island community, and that's pretty much the end of the road for Columbus County, as you know. We can actually holler, and you can hear us in Brunswick County. That's how close we are to this area. But she and I both are professional educators in the local area, in Akina, Godway, and Old Dock, and we have really benefited in just a plethora of manners because just the fact that, just like right now, the Common Core State Standards, you might not know about that initiative, but it's something that the National School Improvement Network has undertook to better our educational endeavors for our children nationwide, so all of the entire nation is on the same page, and shouldn't that be what education is for? And we're in the process of realigning in Columbus County right now. I just left that meeting where we're doing that at Williams Township School this week. And I was up till about 2 in the morning researching Georgia and researching Tennessee and all these other places. I would not have had that ability if it had not been for ATMC services. And seeing all that does is what I know is transferred to my children. That's what they know. So as an educator, and my wife as well, our children are in the same boat. We were very, very much inhibited by the fact that we had to remain at school late to do our work. And, in education, it's a love it or leave it job. You've got to bring it home to really do the job. And many times we had to remain into the dark of the night at the schoolhouse, and that's not feasible when you have a family. So now we have that option at home to research and dig deeper, and in turn at 8 in the morning we can now turn that over to our kids, which is just amazing how it's changed. Our children now have the options. I've seen those I switch to ATMC signs as I go to work every morning. I've passed hundreds of them because my area in Guideway where I teach, all of that area is covered now. I believe you all rounded that end when you all began with us. You rounded it back up at the Walk-A-Mall line there. But that's an educational standpoint. Our children, have one beginning at Old Dock next year in kindergarten, got one going into 3rd grade. The things that they can do with the web. We're such a web-based society and a global society that it's amazing the things that my 5-year-old knows about the internet already. Is that the end-all be-all? No, they still need to be able to go face-to-face and speak, but it helps them so much have that edge that Southeastern North Carolina maybe didn't have at one time that now we do have because of this opportunity. And probably the last thing will be an economical standpoint. My wife and I both have business endeavors outside of our educators' positions that we do. I have a private studio at home. She's a consultant with a company, and we use the web for all of those endeavors. Everything we do is web-based. All the invoices I send, every time I have a student that signs up with my studio, it's all done through the web. The parents are so much more susceptible to be able to go on there and just take part in communication with me through my private and my public endeavors with education. It's amazing really what it's done for us. So that's just our story, and I know there is many, many, many more that could be speaking. I know Mr. Jackson Gore, I've read in the paper about his international endeavors that have been just beefed up a little bit. I work with his, I believe, daughter-in-law, Miss Rana. I worked with her for a couple of years, and she would talk to me about how that's really helped his situation as well. So I thank you all. Like again, I love the opportunity to come and speak with you all, and I hope there are many more endeavors. Hope there are.
I just have one question. What did you do before your private consulting work, before you had broadband?
Word of mouth. Word of mouth. And that was a hard row to hoe, if you want to say it. We know what that means around here. I'm sure you do. Because we live in such a close-knit community, I believe, in these Southeastern North Carolina counties, that it's good to be that way, and that still has a lot to say for itself. But so many people are doing all of their business online today. So many people are banking online. So many people are buying online. So many people are doing everything, buying horse trailers online. So many people are doing everything that has just given us an edge that we would never have been able to do before. And when I say never, I truly mean never, in all caps, underlined, and italicized. Never, never. And I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. I'm not sure if it was his wife or someone. We heard from a couple folks when we were getting ready to do the grant program, where they were taking some further education courses and some classes, and they were having to drive all the way to Southeastern Community College to do their classwork that other people could do from home. But they didn't have access to do it from home. I'd like to ask Mr. Kenneth Falk to come up, please. Mr. Falk, if you could give us a little background.
Well, first, I'm not a public speaker. I thought I was going to get to speak from the table. But I'm Kenneth Falk, southern end of Columbus County, and I'm a crop insurance adjuster and a farmer. And I've been doing it since 1982. And we've had the phone lines for years, but when it come a hard rain, it wasn't nothing unusual for them just to knock out. It was just the neighborhood you'd lose your service. So, and talking about as like I say, the southern end of Columbus County, it's a rural farming area. And in my job, I do crop insurance. So it was, I think about 3 years ago, the technology went to laptop computers and printers and your GPS system and your bin moisture checkers and all that. And they sent me a package of this, and they said, Mr. Falk, you're going to be getting all this on the mail. And I called my boss man back and I said, I just want to work it on paper. I don't really want to go that route. They called me back and they said, Mr. Falk, I don't believe you quite understood. You're going to be getting it on the mail. So anyway, it come, and the dial-up didn't work too good. We do a lot of pictures and documents and documentation, and we have to upload. Every night you'd upload. And like I said, the dial-up just didn't cut it. Then we got the satellite. It was better, but like Mr. Gore said, on a cloudy day, or if I'd find myself getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning trying to upload 10 pictures. And we would, the adjusters would talk among themselves, and they would go to Bojangles, or we'd find the parking lot of a doctor's office where we could get on and upload real quick. You wouldn't believe the tricks you could learn. But ATMC come, and it was glad. And when they called me, the reason I said I would come is I was really appreciative to be able to sit there now and upload a claim and not have to look at a green line for 30 minutes. Thank y'all.
You know, for us that have it, we take it for granted, but I can still remember dial-up a little bit, not as plain as folks from Columbus County can. Be a tough way to run a business, I believe. Mr. Matthew Edwards, if you would come up, please. Matthew wrote a very impelling letter as well when we were applying for the grant. We included it in our package, and we appreciate you being here today. Tell us a little something about what you do.
Well, my wife is an educator, along with Jimmy. If you get those two together, you may be sitting there for an hour or two, maybe talking. She's in the same boat he is, so trying to do work from home, it was impossible. So she would spend more time at work than at home, trying to do grades. She could never get online with the dial-up and try to get her grades. The programs that the school was using was just too big, too massive to try to do any work. So that's where she was. So she's able to come home more and deal with the kids at first, and then when they go to bed, she could then get back online and finish her work. The other thing, I'm also a state employee. I work for the Department of Transportation. I'm an engineer with the Bladen County. Hurricanes, snow and ice events, anything that happens, it seems like it happens at night, and I'm responsible for any activity that happens. I'm the one that calls the guys in, deals with everything, makes the calls of what to do. And all that happens usually at night on the weekends. And trying to do that work, trying to look at the National Weather Service, trying to deal with anything, trying to look up weather graphs and all, it was basically impossible to do. You could basically try to upload and go get you something to drink, come back, maybe it'd be loaded up. So this is something that's helped me in my endeavors of trying to, not just on a personal level, trying to speed up, but also helping the county out, trying to make the better decisions of how to do anything. I'm also able to bring my work home. The state has everything they use is web-based. So trying to do my work, I'm able to bring it home and get on the what they call a virtual private network and try to get on their systems, and because everything is web-based, and do my work from home. So I've basically been able to take my office, move my office basically to the house if I have to. So that's basically what it is. Thank you. Yes.
Can I just ask you one question? Can you give me an example of an emergency or something that you were stuck at home the middle of the weekend and you couldn't do?
Seems like, say, a hurricane's coming up. You're always having to look to see what time it's coming in, have to change the weather, especially, say, and a hurricane usually have 2 or 3 days notice. Snow and ice event, I'm responsible for getting all the snow plows out, getting all that available and get it organized. What to do? Should we use? Should we run the brine operations? What time to start? If it's gonna, snow's supposed to come in at 8 o'clock, do I get the guys come in early, or Do they come in at 8 o'clock? Do they come in at 12 o'clock? How many people come in? And sometimes the internet, from that standpoint, is working, because you're always having to, you get to know a National Weather Service and pull up their weather graphs and try to distinguish what time it's actually going to start in your location, because it may start in Whiteville at one time, it may start in Elizabethtown at a different time. And usually just your TV stations give you a broad area for the area, and it's going to start at 8 o'clock for the area. But I have to do more pinpointing, or if I don't, I bring the guys in too soon, and they sit around and wait. That way I can keep basically taxpayer money from being wasted by just pulling the guys in just in case. You're able to more pinpoint your locations, and hopefully their data's right, and you just make a judgment call for that stuff. All right, thank you.
We also have Mr. and Ms. Sarvis here today. I don't think they're going to speak. Mr. Sarvis is a small business owner in Columbus County as well, and has our broadband service. I was explaining to Mr. Administrator Adelstein earlier that there's not a lot of big businesses in Columbus County anymore. Tobacco used to be king over there, and tobacco warehouses and processing, and it's all gone. But there are still some small businesses, and this is helping those small businesses to function, people to communicate. I want to tell all of you how much we appreciate you as customers, how much we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come here today, and thank you for sharing a little with us. I want to introduce Administrator Adelstein. He's Jonathan Adelstein, and I'll tell you a little something about him. He was previously served as an FCC commissioner, Federal Communications Commission commissioner from 2002 to 2009, before being appointed to lead U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Utility Services. And I think I told you earlier that they administer about a $60 billion portfolio of mostly loans and some grants. I think in the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, they had about $6.5 billion worth of grants, mostly for water, electric, and communications, broadband, to be specific. Administrator Adelstein also serves on the White House Business Council and on the White House National Science and Technology Council. And before joining the commission, Commissioner Adelstein served for 15 years as a staff member in the U.S. Senate. Final 7 years, he was a senior legislative aide for the Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle from South Dakota. Most of us have heard of him, whether we're very active in politics or not. Administrator Adelstein was a teaching fellow at the Department of History at Harvard University. He has an MA and a BA degree with a distinction in political science from Stanford University. He was born and raised in rural America, Rapid City, South Dakota. He currently lives with his wife Karen and 2 children, Adam and Lexi, in Washington, D.C., and he's very active there in the Jewish community. With that, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Well, thank you, Alan, and thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate the wonderful hospitality, wonderful lunch that we had and shared together, and some of these stories. It was really a great idea, I think, to hear first, before me, what the benefits are to the community. I've been to a few of these events, not enough. We have some 300 projects around the country, and I don't get to nearly enough of them. It's kind of a rare opportunity, so each one I go to is a special treat to kind of hear stories that are representative of the benefits we're seeing all over the country, and to see what's happening here in southeast North Carolina. Such a beautiful part of the country. I've been in North Carolina for a couple days, and we're going to stay here, and we have had such a long and successful partnership with this company, with ATMC, where we have been able to, over the years, lend nearly $70 million to your co-op all used to make sure people in this community had the state-of-the-art technology. And now you're extending it to Columbus County, where they were being neglected. And that's what cooperatives are all about. I mean, the reason cooperatives were formed is because the big phone companies wouldn't take care of the people in their community. So the people here got together, and the first loan, I believe, that started this company was a rural electrification administration loan. Our former agency was called the old REA. Now, we began together and grew up together, 1955, right? Always partners. We're the government that's just the bank, basically loaning the money, and it was the people of this community who decided to get together and make it work. And now you have fantastic leadership in Alan Russ and in the board here. And I think the board, and I thank all of you and Alan for your leadership and your vision in saying that it's not good enough for people in Columbus County just because they're served by a big company that's forgotten about them to let them not have broadband. All of the stories we heard, whether it be a horse trailer, or emergency late at night, or an educator who wants to get home to their family and still do their job, all of these stories are things I can take back and talk about these examples because they're happening all over the country. And it's really thanks to you and your leadership that Columbus County is going to be served, and it's thanks to you and your leadership that this area is already served so well by broadband and by the best technology. Interesting how a small little company, scrappy little company, can do so much better than a big national company that has billions of dollars and huge number of employees, but they think they can make more money in a big town like Raleigh, and they're not going to put their funds out here in rural North Carolina. But you do, community-based, and I was hearing at lunch about the history, a little bit more about the history here. I hadn't known this, but Alan told me that President Clinton had been right up in Columbus County when he was president of the United States, talking about the digital divide. And here it is, nearly a decade, more than a decade after he was here, that finally, with the help of President Obama, who believes in rural broadband. Some of you, if you managed to stay up and watch the State of the Union, you would have heard him talk about rural broadband, and he believes in getting it done. He personally made sure that we got funds in the Recovery Act to get this done. And I even got called into his chief of staff's office, then Rahm Emanuel, who did not swear at me, by the way. I was afraid he would, because his goal was to say, look, the president believes if he didn't personally intervene, we wouldn't have had this money in the stimulus package for broadband. And so he wants me to stay on top of you to make sure the money's getting out the door. The president himself asked me about it once when I had a chance to see him, how it was going, and I told him, it's a slog. It takes time to get these things built. These are big projects. But I got to say that ATMC is ahead of the curve, that you are already have so many people hooked up, already selling product overseas and helping the teachers and our public safety and everybody else at all hours of the day and night to have access to all the information at their fingertips in the world that you need to do your business, to be with your families, to protect the community. So the promise and hope that President Clinton raised has been fulfilled here thanks to you in Columbus County. So this is one of, think about what the president got done, 320 projects nationwide that we funded, and that was $3.5 billion we invested, of which more than 146 million went right here to North Carolina. And you seized on that opportunity, and if it wasn't for the hard work you did, it was a tough process. We had 20 billion in applications for that money. So if you look at the ratio, it's tougher than getting into Harvard. You made it through a rigorous evaluation process because this is a company, of course, we know. We've done business with you for a long time. We've know your finances. Well-run company, one that really knows what it's doing. So when you put that application together and we saw the numbers, they made sense, and it's going to work. It can serve a 185 square mile area, $16 million, a lot of grant, a little bit of loan, so you'll be hopefully paying us back for that portion. I know you will. You've already told me that the take rates are even better than you anticipated. So the business case that you made to us was, if anything, a conservative one. So it's looking very good. You're going to cover 3,500 households and hundreds of small businesses like we heard about today. Mr. Gore's business and so many others. Anchor institutions that either the schools, the hospitals will get better quality service. Even if they have broadband today from a provider, now they're going to get fiber, the state-of-the-art technology. Fiber to the home is something that is the best. I mean, there's no question that's state-of-the-art. It's something you can't do any better in Manhattan, New York, DC, where I live, but you're going to get it right here in Columbus County, in North Carolina, thanks to this cooperative. And another great thing about this, and we didn't talk about it much today, but are the jobs that were created. I understand from your filings, 87 jobs. It's a tough time for the economy, and we, the vision of the Recovery Act was that we would be able to get those jobs going when we needed them, laying the groundwork of these networks. And once the networks are built, there'll be more jobs here at headquarters running those networks. But I think most importantly are the jobs we're going to see for years to come that are based on these networks. How many more small businesses will start up? How many more trailers can you sell that then you can hire more people to build those and sell them overseas? Our competitors overseas are building broadband networks for their communities so that they can then take business away from the United States. And if we don't do that, we're not going to be able to compete overseas. So the vision of the president was that we'd be able to empower entrepreneurs to have that broadband and to open up new health and educational opportunities. I'm a father myself, and sometimes my son asks me some obscure question, and I remember when if I'd ask my dad that question, he'd say, I don't know, I'll go to the library. And then, of course, he never got down there to do it, so I never got the answer. But now I whip out I got 4G, in the big city, and I sit there and I can answer it, or I go on the computer and I answer the question in a few minutes, and his curiosity is sated. We might keep on exploring he has some amazing questions for an 11-year-old, and what happened, why did the Gauls invade Rome, so we figured out what kind of culture they had, and we start exploring deeper in. All of a sudden we have a whole world of information. So whenever his curiosity speaks, we can get into it. Well, we can't let rural kids not have the opportunity to get that information if the kids in the cities are getting it. The kids out in rural America are every bit as smart, every bit as curious, and every bit is able to contribute to this national economy, if not more so. I mean, who knows, the next Steve Jobs might come from Columbus County, but if he didn't have opportunity to get broadband, he might not get that curiosity going, you might not move in that direction, you might not get whatever technological bent he has satisfied, he might go in a different direction, and we would have never benefited. So this isn't just about benefiting rural America, and it certainly is. Rural America is the backbone of this country, and here is the place that will drive our economy. This isn't some favor we're doing for rural America. This is something we're doing for this whole country to draw on the strengths and the ideas and the economic growth that can come out of this area for around the world. And if people here don't have broadband, young people won't stay there. I can't imagine young people in Columbus County saying, well, I'm going to stay here where I grew up even though I want to and raise my family if I don't have broadband. It's very difficult for them to do. They can't conceive of that. And so we want to keep young people where they grew up. If they want to live there, it's their choice. But let's give them the choice. Let's give them the educational opportunities. Let's give them the business opportunities. Let's give them the healthcare opportunities if they need telemedicine. So if there's an emergency, they can get into the specialty hospital up in Raleigh or Charlotte or wherever they need to be, so they get the latest care when they need it. And if they need to go to the hospital, that's fine, but if they have an emergency, they can get that information. They maybe will get a test done they otherwise wouldn't get, and it can be shot to a specialist somewhere else as if they were right there. This is such the necessity for the future. And not every community has been so fortunate. Not every community has an ATMC to do this, and a board that was willing to go along with Alan when he said doing this. So it was a combination of all of you doing that, creating all these opportunities for your community, and we're just your partner. But we're proud to be your partner. I'm glad this is one of the ones I got to visit. I've known Alan for years. He's a leader in the national cooperative movement, a member of the board of the association. that is having some difficult times right now with changes in technology and changes in regulation. But the way that Alan has run ATMC, you're, I think, better positioned to survive into the future. So you really have a lot to appreciate in how good of a leadership you have here. And I know he has a lot to appreciate in how good of a board he has to be supportive, to be leaders, to be willing to look into the future and invest in your community, take out that loan, take advantage of the grant, put together such an outstanding application at a time when you beat so many others that want to do that for their community, and there's so many left that we still need to get to. So RUS will be here into the future, making sure that we have sustainable communities, that you can self-populate and thrive economically into the future, so that you can succeed and reach your maximum potential and contribute to the whole country, to our economy, to our way of life, to our education, can enjoy the quality of life in this beautiful part of the country and the ocean breezes that blow in, and still have access to all of the information around the globe and all of the markets around the globe, all of the healthcare and educational opportunities around the globe, and yet live in the community where you want to live in the most beautiful part of the country, and enjoy that rural quality of life. I'm glad to be your partner and proud to work with you to make this possible. Well, thanks for having me.